Hey, everybody, what's up?
The region never disappoints, does it?
Oh, yeah.
It never disappoints.
It disappoints.
It does. I was disappointed too. You're right, but that never disappoints with another news story. So
yeah, we have a Whiting Robertsdale gentleman in the studio with us today to talk a little bit about the northern end of our county. Talk about what's going on with Whiting. Tom Daberton.
Good morning, Tom.
How you doing, Tom?
Good morning. You're listening to I'm sorry. I forgot where I'm at. Hey,
Can't say that here.
We have more viewers than them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm still recovering from wearing the blindfold to get to the back.
That's
cave
right.
Yes,
I'm
glad you made it.
You know, I just want people to know. I mean, getting picked up at a Walgreens by the mayor in a Mustang, who drives at like 100 miles an hour.
Sorry, my trunk isn't that well ventilated.
We're going to get into that too.
Exactly. Yeah, my head's still spinning. but I'm here.
Welcome to Left to Center Pod.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here.
Nice studio, huh?
You know what? I have a theory though. I have a theory about why I'm on here.
Good.
So you had a great show with your dad. Okay.
Yeah,
we did.
And you had Matt Reardon, and now you have me.
Yeah.
And so the deal is that you're looking for guys with gray hair.
Oh.
Okay, so that you look younger. That's what
You're making us look good.
The
Tom.
interesting thing is going to be Lindsay's been tracking the cuss counter, and we brought you in just to lower it because I know you.
We want to keep the average weight down.
I think anytime you use a cuss word today, you're making a donation to St. Joseph's Carmelite Home.
I like that.
There you go.
I like that. I have a feeling this is going to be a low show.
I hope so. I hope so. You won't hear a lot out of me.
Well, Tom, like I said, welcome to Left to Center Pod.
Tom was my. I'm sorry, Kevin.
I was going to say, let's just remind everybody, you can go on Facebook Live right now, Left to Center Podcast. You can go to Twitter at LOC Pod. Go to YouTube, subscribe to us there at Left to Center Podcast. Or most importantly and most exciting is go to Apple Podcasts and you can subscribe to us. Listen to us on your run, on your walk, in the shower. Well, if you want
I always listen in the shower.
And that can be found at Left to Center Show on Apple Podcasts. So
isn't that cool?
It's really cool.
I'm still geeked about that.
I've got texts from friends in Texas, California, all subscribing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're going to do a couple sponsors, and we're going to start in with Tom. We're going to talk about Whiting, Robertsdale, Hammond, North Hammond, everything.
And national, too. I mean, what the heck?
We'll get into it.
All right, let's go. I'll start off.
Sure.
Let's go to our sponsors first, and then we'll get into the show. Region News Source, featuring Northwest Indiana region-specific breaking news and stories, focusing only on facts regarding our lives in Northwest Indiana. Paul Goddard and his team are proud to declare that we have no bias or political opinions, just facts and truths, straight from reliable and trusted sources. This service is provided to the region for free. Check out our website at regionnewssource.org or follow us on Facebook at Region News Source.
Thanks, Paul, for that sponsorship. You know, Pinnacle Concrete LLC is one of our sponsors, and I got to tell you, it's that time of year where you start feeling like the summer is fleeting. So if you've got a project at your house, concrete-wise, get a hold of Pinnacle Concrete. Check them out on Facebook at Pinnacle Concrete LLC. They do all sorts of concrete around your home. Schedule your free estimate by calling Rigo Sr. at 805-7572 or Rigo Jr. at 407-4567 or message them on Facebook. They're licensed, bonded, and insured in all towns and cities in Lake County, Indiana.
Attorney Alfredo Estrada at Burke, Costanza, and Carberry, LLP. Locations in Maryville and Chicago. Alfredo is one of the most experienced lawyers in the area of immigration and civil litigation. Call Alfredo at 219-769-1313. Adelante con Alfredo.
Glad you got the Spanish this week.
That's right.
Jeff Cardwell is a great realtor here in Northwest Indiana, and Jeff Cardwell is with Macaulay Real Estate and serves all of Northwest Indiana for all your real estate needs. 11 years of experience, a 9-year Navy veteran. Jeff is the realtor you can trust. Call him today and find out why he is the home of 5-star service. 219-743-5157. That's 219-743-5157, or visit gcardwell.macaulay.com.
Last, Laughing Right Productions invites any and everybody to a downtown Hammond movie night tonight. We will be showing Lion King at 7 p.m. and Transformers: Age of Extinction at 9 p.m. tonight at the public parking lot at Sibley and Homan. Follow us on Facebook at LRP Networks. Follow us on Facebook at LRP Network Inc. for more information. You can purchase tickets at ticketme.com. That's ticketmee.com. And if you use the code GOHAMMOND, you can get $10 off your ticket purchase.
All right. Those are some of our sponsors. We'll get to some in a little bit. Let's get in with Tom Daberton.
Tom, you have quite the crowd watching our show today. I want to congratulate
They're excited
you.
to hear
Yeah, I
from
got
you.
a lot of relatives.
I mean, obviously, you know, you're putting Matt Reardon and my pops to shame with the number of people watching this show. So,
Hey, Tom, you've still got shared resources, right? I mean, that's kind of your...
Yeah, still consulting after 20 years. Been in downtown Hammond the whole time.
tell us about your business.
Indiana building.
You know, basically, I think I'm still the only certified management consultant in Northwest Indiana.
How do you get that?
Actually, you have to be a consultant for so many years, and then you take a series of exams. It's kind of like any other certification process. And then you have to keep your certification up every so many years. You have to take so many online courses and demonstrate that you've mastered certain responsibilities. So my focus is operations management, strategic planning, and human resources.
So it's like CFP, CPA.
Yeah, very much, very similar, very similar. There are about 2,000 certified management consultants nationwide.
Okay.
That's
exciting.
Awesome. That's awesome. And you're still in downtown Hammond and available for all sorts of consulting.
Still in downtown Hammond, available. I mean, COVID-19, business has been busy, and then it's extremely slow, and then it's busy again. And, one thing that just amazes me right now is the number of businesses that are trying to find employees and can't get people to even show up for interviews.
Really?
Wow.
I was out in Maryville the other day at a manufacturer, and they had scheduled something like 30 interviews for some entry-level positions, and they had like 9 people actually show up.
Wow.
And these were scheduled.
People are enjoying their unemployment checks.
I mean,
absolutely.
You're getting $600 a week extra on top
Yeah.
of what the state's giving you. You start doing
money.
the numbers, it's like, man,
Good money.
I'm getting paid a lot to sit at home.
You're making over $50,000 a year
To sit at home.
to sit at home. Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to compete.
Get back
It's
to
like,
work, people.
I have a job, pays you $52,000 a year, and you're like, I make an extra $2,000
$2,000 and I
butt
can
every
sit on
day.
my ass at home.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you get, the max you can get from the state is $390. You add the $600. Now you're making $990 a week.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So, all right.
Yeah. But Tom and I go way back. Tom was chief of staff for the city of Hammond for a
Sure
number of
was.
years. He currently serves as my appointee to the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Which you should get combat pay for.
Exactly. And don't forget, I'm also president of the Hammond Housing Authority.
I forgot
You've been on
about
that board for a
President
while.
of the Hammond Housing Authority also.
Long
Working
time.
with Carmen, and we got some issues going over there, too, we're working with. But Tom does a great job for us. He's a lifelong Hammond resident.
Yeah, lifelong Hammond resident. I thought I was coming this morning to get Citizen of the Year. 39,
Really?
39
Yeah,
boards
after the
and
show.
commissions. Yeah,
After the show, after
Yeah,
the
the
show.
bust is going to be the
Speaking of-
award.
Oh, this is great.
I brought in my dad's bust.
What you?
So, keep in mind.
Now, everybody look at that. John,
Now, wait a minute.
Can you zoom on that at all? Is that possible?
Hold
or
on.
no?
Keep
John's
in
gonna-
mind, you're going to be zooming on this. This is on top of a library shelf.
But you got to lift it up. You've got to lift it up a
The
little
story.
bit.
Just let's remember the story while the mayor's getting this trinket together
heavy.
here.
It's heavy.
This was said to be the bust of Tom McDermott Sr. Let's take a,
It resembles him.
If
This
you
is
lift
what
it
he
up-
tells us. Keep in
If
mind.
you lift it up and you look from here and you look at the nose and the mouth and the chin, it
looks
does.
like the guy on the $5 bill to me.
It says his big name down here, Thomas
Yeah,
M. McDermott.
Republican
right?
of the Year,
Republican of the Year.
1983.
Senior, by the way. Let's point that out. But it's a bust of Lincoln. But my whole family was told this is his bust. And it was on top of his damn library. So you just look up. You're like, damn, my dad's got a bust of his head.
Kevin, now we know
And
why.
then I took it down. It's freaking Abraham Lincoln.
Now we know why the mayor was not an aviator in the Navy.
Yeah, right? Come on.
Eyesight.
It's a resemblance of him. I think my dad thinks this is him.
That would be the best
I
part of
still
the story.
think he thinks it's him. I'm like, hey, don't
So
forget
he
to
wasn't
give me...
lying to you. He just really thought they gave him a
I
bust
think
of
to
himself.
this day, I think he thinks that's him.
I got to confirm that with Alec.
Yeah, about 20 years
I'm telling
from
you, my dad thinks this is him. He's been
Well,
telling us our whole life. This is my bust.
We
I
now
got
have
it.
a bust of Abraham Lincoln / Tom McDermott Sr.
Dude, that
here in
looks
the
a little bit
studio
like my dad.
for
That's
forever.
a young Abe. Abe was ugly. And
Well,
good looking.
he aged.
I agree.
Look at
There's
the
a chip on the nose.
Look at the 1860 photo versus the 1865.
Well, this is
photo.
a
You're
way
right about
before
that.
Abe was president, obviously.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't tell my dad. He thinks it's him. I mean, we don't want to.
Well, we know he doesn't know how to figure out how to
doesn't-
listen to a podcast,
He
so
doesn't-
he's not listening right
He
now.
doesn't got much going anyway. Come on. We don't need to tell him. He thinks this is his bust.
You're right. All right. Good job. Thank you for bringing in the bust of your father.
So 3 show and tells. I got my Jaime Rickover on my dad's bust. And did you know I was the best mayor in the region, Tom?
Yes, they did.
according to the
I actually,
Northwest Indiana Times.
Yeah.
well, I voted for you.
Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you.
so-
It could have been the
voted for
deciding vote.
I can't argue with the
It
media.
was a deciding vote.
I
there
was-
were only 3.
right. Yeah, right.
Tom, what do you think about your alma mater shutting down?
Yeah.
You know,
for those of you that are,
Pioneers.
Tom went to Clark High School. Clark High School is a northern high school in Hammond, and like a lot of urban cities, our school city is shutting down high schools and consolidated into 2 schools, which shuts down a historic school that Tom went to. It's a great high school.
I was a very proud member of Clark High School, class of 1978. I think a lot of people, Pat Montalbano, one of the teachers that was there when I was there, said, they used to think that I actually ran the school. I was involved in a lot of stuff, and it was great, and I had a wonderful, wonderful experience there. But consolidation's necessary. The good news for Robertsdale is that for a number of years, kids from Robertsdale have gone to Whiting. I mean, as you both know, my kids went to Whiting. We live in Robertsdale, but they went to Whiting, and Whiting has become
2 high schools, for those of you that aren't familiar, literally 2 miles from each other.
Not even that. Maybe
mile and a half. Mile?
Maybe
right
a
down,
mile.
Right down 119th
Right down 119th
The Battle
Street.
of 119th Street, which will never be.
That's like the thing about the region, that when you look at stuff like that, it's like we got 2 high schools located a mile from each other in 2 different communities, but it's like that's the failure of government. Going way back.
Over
going way
years.
back. We're talking like a failure of government going over a century
When did Clark
ago.
open? 37, 35?
I think it was, actually, I checked with Mylan Krasinski, who's another graduate. I think it was 33 or 34. But, it's a mile apart. The kids from Robertsdale generally are going to Whiting High School. I think you mentioned this when Tommy and Chase were both playing football, and Chase was over at Bishop Knoll. You said, hey, wait a minute. I checked the lineup for Whiting, and I think like 75% of the kids are actually from Robertsdale, and you're right about that. I mean, so a lot of kids go to
a lot of Whiting's football's superstars came from Hammond. Like one of them was Eva's son.
Maybe they'll end up at Hammond Central. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I think Hammond Central is going to be.
It's going to make a push.
But yeah, it's going to be sad. But I could tell you that as a mayor, when I get the opportunity to develop that area around Clark High School, it makes me excited as a mayor. Like that's what I live for as a mayor, is building stuff.
So here's the thing. There are a lot of people up in Whiting Robertsdale who say, what's the next big thing that's going to happen in the community? And I keep on telling them the next big thing is the development of the property where Clark High School is, and then the athletic field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're talking about hundreds. You're talking about hundreds of new homes and new investment. And you know what? People who buy new homes have money. That means they're going to support the business community, and that's what That's what really.
That going back to when you were chief of staff is we've always talked about the opportunity that the athletic fields at Clark High School give us. As we're a landlocked city, for those of you that aren't familiar, we really don't have acres and acres of developable land available.
Right. Pockets here.
What do you think?
There.
I mean, the athletic complex for Whiting has got to be 10 acres at least.
Yeah,
they've
estimated 80 homes there.
Yeah, but what do you think it is acreage wise? It might be bigger.
It might be bigger
than
10 acres.
15 acres.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's
because think about River Park was 25.
Yeah, it's more than that. But look, you put 80 homes there, and you put a number of townhouses and homes on where the high school is. And you have got a huge change in that area.
Well, think about the location. You're across the street from the pavilion. You can literally ride your bike to the bike trails, onto the golf course. You're 5 minutes from Lake Michigan to a beach, and you're 20 minutes from the Loop.
Look, you live in one of those homes, no matter where you're at in that subdivision, you're going to be next to water. You're either going to be next to George Lake or Wolf Lake.
The thing about that area, you're in like the bike trail capital of Indiana.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you can literally get to literally the north side of Chicago or down to Crown Point right from that location.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
It's if you're a cyclist. In fact, I know people that have moved to Robertsdale, our side of the border, on purpose because they want the advantages of college bound, but they also want access to the bike trails and quick access to Chicago.
Well, let's just clarify for a second. Most of the bike trails in Whiting Robertsdale are actually in Robertsdale.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this. Look, your legacy, one of your great legacies is going to be the bike trail system because Hammond has a bike trail system that is absolutely there's no comparison between what Hammond offers and any other community. And as you know, I ride my bike all over the place. And your bike, the bike bridges, the trails, the maintenance, I mean, they're fantastic. And you're right. You can ride anywhere. You can ride
Tom
anywhere.
helped me a lot as chief of staff. He helped. I would almost go the entire extension from downtown Hammond to the river along the Monon. That was Tom driving that project. And
there was that one woman, remember, who was absolutely
5 miles.
Yeah, but there was that one woman who was so adamant that it was going to bring in all the wrong people, and she literally stood out there when they were putting down the asphalt. Yeah, that was.
But by the way, like that is a very active stretch. I know Jana uses that all the time.
She uses it to run. I know Phil Talon uses it to run. There's a lot of activity in the Monon. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
even tell you.
The
Down
Monon's
Lyman,
super busy.
all the way to Harrison Park. It's great.
Yeah.
Again,
Awesome.
there are some great trails. By the way, people don't know this. You mentioned Clark High School. Again, very proud of my association with Clark High School. The little paved path along Calumet Avenue that runs between the tennis court and the parking lot is actually Hammond's first bike trail.
Oh, no way.
Whoa, that was a short one.
Ed Ruskowski.
Yeah, right.
Ed Ruskowski.
Woo, I'm exhausted.
That's awesome.
So they redid Clark Athletic Field just before I got into high school, and at the time there was no path there, and kids were having to walk on the street. And I was involved in student government, and I approached Mayor Ruskowski, and of course, I was very close to Mayor Ed, and he said, "Well, you know what? We'll designate it as a bike path, and we can pave it." And that's actually how it got paved. And Mylan and Carolyn, his wife, and others remember that's the first bike path, about 1975, I think.
Since we're on this topic, I want to cover a couple. Tom helped the city of Hammond tremendously when it came to the WHAM bike ride, which we had the other day with over 1,000 people. Tom,
yeah, WHAM
Actually, it's closer to 1,300, man.
1,300, yeah. WHAM was great this year.
When you make it free, it's funny how many people come out.
But you know what?
And COVID,
Yeah.
I would say
But
that.
look at WHAM is now the only night ride in the Chicago metro area.
Yep.
I mean,
They got rid of
Chicago
Chicago?
canceled, yeah.
Chicago got rid of theirs, and of course,
Remember that year you and I did that?
Yes.
Want to hear a funny story?
So,
We were there.
Yeah, so
I was
viewers
there.
need to know this. Yeah, we go downtown, and there's about 20 of us that
Thank
go?
you, Gary
Right?
Gleason, for helping us get up there.
Right. Gary gets a flatbed. We go up there, and the mayor jumps on his bike, and he's like showing us, like how great a bicyclist he is. And you are a good bicyclist. But you're like showing us right in the middle of Michigan Avenue, and there's cars going by you, and how you didn't get run over is beyond me.
Well, don't forget the wipe.
Well, this is so funny. You gave away the story.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like everybody
yeah.
was sitting there like at a stoplight, and I was like doing what Tom said. I was showing off, and I come like tearing up to this, and I was just gonna like
Right
lock
near
it up.
Buckingham Fountain.
And I was gonna lock it up and like skid, right? And I'm like showing everybody how cool I am, right? And I'm like 45 probably at this time, and I come barreling towards Tom and probably 20 Northwest Indiana region residents. All of them know who I am, and I lock up my brakes, and there was like a fine gravel at this intersection, like. And when I locked up my brakes, I just lost my bike, and it just like flew out from under me.
It was awesome.
I completely wiped out in front of 30 people. Everybody was like, "There you
They
go."
were worried about you for a second. Then it was a lot of
I was
laughter.
like bleeding before the race even started.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Also one thing before we move on from bikes, I just want to really thank Tom a lot because I know he was the consultant on getting Hammond the bike. What is it called? Bike City, right?
Bicycle friendly community, and this is a status. This is a designation that very few communities have in the state of Indiana. I think there are less than 500 nationwide. And, basically it says that you are in a class above everybody else. I mean, look, everybody wants to have bike trails, but being a bicycle-friendly community is very, very important, very unique. It actually opens up the opportunity for all kinds of, grants and designations that, again, Hammond deserves. I mean, you have a great system. In fact, I think, if I'm correct, remember some years ago there was a group from Active.com that came in to see you, and you showed them your grand map of what you wanted to do, and they said that if you completed that, and you pretty much have, that you'd have more trails per capita than any community east of Colorado Springs.
Oh wow! Yeah, in Indiana,
absolutely.
You're number one. You're number one in Indiana.
Right.
But I think you're actually in the top 10, say, in the nation.
Nice. I love it.
Unbelievable.
Hey, I wanted to transfer forward. It seems like before we get into Tom's background, which is very interesting, by the way, I wanted to there's obviously a reason we wanted Tom in here.
For sure.
He's a prominent member of the Whiting-Robertsdale area. Even though he's a Hammond resident, Tom knows a lot of people in Whiting. Tom does a lot of business in Whiting, and obviously a good friend of mine yesterday, Mayor Joe Stahura, the mayor of Whiting. The day he walked into office was the same day I walked into office, so him and I were the two longest-serving mayors in northern Indiana. I think there's a couple mayors longer. Carmel is longer than both of us, I think.
It would certainly be the longest in Northwest.
Oh, yeah. But yesterday, for those that aren't familiar with what happened yesterday, Mayor Joe Stahura was indicted along with his wife on charges of campaign finance irregularities, which results in income tax evasion. Obviously, this is a tragic end to Mayor Joe's reign in Whiting. Obviously, there's a lot of questions. And Kevin and I are very familiar with campaign finance issues. And I want to point out 595-0792 if you want to call in, 595-0792. We do have a question backed up we're going to get to from Kathy. We'll talk about that. But, what's going on in Whiting, Tom, since Mayor
it's
Joe's
a sad
announcement?
day. It is a sad day. And
Sure
let me
is.
just mention, look, it's a sad day. It certainly is. His legacy, of course, was the lakefront and some of the other projects that he had. But this is going to be a stain. I mean, people aren't very happy. I mean, people are upset, and I'm included. I live in Robertsdale, but I'm very active in Whiting, Robertsdale, and people are upset. You feel disappointed. You feel let down. I know this. I've known Joe for a long time. In fact. I can't remember how, but Joe Stahura is named for his uncle, and his uncle was a cousin of mine somehow by marriage. So, I've known the guy for a long time, but I've noticed in recent years, and you and I talked about it a year or two ago, that there was a change in him.
Well, yeah, Joe and I, over the years, we had some business issues come between our relationship. I always considered us friends, and I hope he considered us friends, and I still consider him a friend. But over the last few years, Joe and I have drifted. We had a lawsuit between our cities.
I think
that
ever
certainly
since then.
didn't help. Oh, no, it was definitely different after that. But even after we cleared up the lawsuit, him and I were still nice to each other, but you could tell there was something missing.
Something
It wasn't
different,
like it was before. And I heard rumors 6 months ago, Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, that the feds were looking at.
Yeah, there
Whiting
were
and
some
Mayor.
rumors
There were rumors
swirling,
out
and you
there.
never know.
But, I hear
you
that
hear
crap
rumors
all the time.
all the time.
Right.
I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, like, they're like, well, why didn't you say anything? I was like, you know what? You hear rumors about just
I
about
heard rumors-
everybody in Lake County.
Absolutely.
Democrats, Republicans,
But
you
let me
name
ask
it.
you this.
99% of them are BS.
Sure.
Let me put you both on the spot. You're both attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's tragic and it's sad, and again, you do the crime, you pay the time, right? And so, you've got $255,000 involved in this, and somebody called me last night and said, well, Philpott was what, $20-some thousand, and he got how much time? Is there a
That's
scale?
4
Is
years,
there a
maybe?
scale
Was
that
it?
they use?
I don't know if it was that.
Yeah, so there's a sentencing guidelines, federal sentencing guidelines. However, you get points for, accepting responsibility, which Joe did.
For sure.
It's interesting to me that there's already a plea agreement in place. Kerry Connors is his lawyer, very, very good criminal defense attorney. And it looks like they had a deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office, with Tom Kersey,
Because he
U.S. Attorney's
expected-
Office.
he
It's set up
accepted
because
responsibility.
he did. Well, yeah, sometimes that doesn't. I mean, I don't know if they did an indictment or if they did it by way of information. Sometimes they can if you waive the indictment process. I'd have to look that up. But I also noticed that his wife already got a deferred prosecution agreement, which is rare in federal court.
That sounds to me like
If you
you're
take
both
the,
facing it.
right. Let me take the fall. Please let my wife not. And the U.S.
Exactly.
Attorney's Office
And again,
decided to do that.
I've known him for a long time. I wouldn't say that we were ever close friends or anything, but you grow up in the same community, and we're 3 years apart. You know each other. I mean,
sure.
He worked at his uncle's sports shop when he was a kid. I used to buy model planes and ships. In fact, I think I built the Hyman Rickover, by the way.
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah, I think I did. And and so he worked there. So
Did
I
you
knew
know
him.
he was a gambler? I mean, that's shocking to me. I thought I knew
No,
Joe well.
you know what? I did
didn't
not.
either.
I know everybody knows that he's into sports,
Right.
but I didn't know the gambling part of it. I never knew that.
And regarding the sentencing, the federal judges now have more leeway than they used to. In like the 90s and I think early 2000s, there was this case called Apprendi. They used to have, it was really strict. You had to stick within the guidelines. Now, the judge has a lot of discretion, more discretion than they had, I should say. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I haven't seen the plea agreement. There may be an agreed sentence in there. You don't know, or a recommended sentence. I should
Recommended,
say.
right?
Yeah, it's up to the judge ultimately.
Yeah, that's I heard of quite a few people asking questions about the process that happens now that the mayor's. He hasn't stepped down yet, but I imagine it's today or Monday at the latest. But the day Mayor Stahura resigns or if he pleads guilty, he immediately loses his office.
He does.
I know the answer to this. I'm asking rhetorically. Kevin, who
Thank
becomes
you.
the mayor at that point?
The city controller.
The city controller takes over as
For
mayor.
Well, it'd be
cities.
the clerk treasurer. So they have a clerk treasurer.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, you're right. It would be
Treasurer.
clerk
John
treasurer.
Haynes.
You're right,
Clerk
'cause it's a
treasurer.
third-class
Haynes,
city.
yeah,
It's a
that's
third-class
right.
city.
That's right.
Because the reason I said controller is because we learned from the PBA
Right.
when
Charlie Tuna
But that's
Pecora
just
was the mayor.
But that's just an interim situation.
Yes,
And then
right,
until the
precinct
caucus.
organization caucuses,
Exactly.
and so you're going to have
Who's the front runners, Tom?
Well, you're going to have probably
so the precinct organization, but 6 of them, I believe, in Whiting.
I think
Small town.
So even though there's less now due to consolidation, I believe due to the Democratic Party rule that happened during consolidation, as long as you were precinct committeeman before the consolidation until the next election, which is next year or the year after, I think, you get
just
to
say
vote.
5.
So it's 6.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to explain it. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's long-winded.
Yeah.
So you basically take 3 guys out for drinks and you become no, I'm just
4
kidding.
guys.
4 guys, yeah.
Right.
You know what? There are 3 names floating around right now. Steve Speebar.
Great guy, by the way. He's the
great
current chairman.
guy.
Yeah.
Steve grew
Sweet,
up with my brother
smart,
David.
city
very,
chairman.
very smart, very capable. What a great guy.
Sweet, smart, good Democrat.
Absolutely, and just an all-around really nice guy, and I think he certainly understands the vision. Chris Evernitis is another name that comes up all
Great,
the time.
also.
Chris has been the longtime president of the city council, and Sean Turpin.
Yeah, all 3.
Sean Turpin, another councilman, former school board member. You know, the 3 names keep on coming up. My own guess.
What are the? Yeah, let's do some odds here.
If you're a betting man,
horses,
you're a
I would
betting man,
say
which is
I
probably
would say
bad.
it's Steve's. Yeah, right. I don't know that
We're
we
not
wanna
betting
go
on this,
Right,
so
we don't
let's
want to
make
go
that
there.
clear.
Right. But I would venture to guess it's probably Steve.
I mean,
Speebar.
and the reason being, I would agree with Tom. He's the chairman of the party,
Right.
and the party is picking the next mayor. You would think the chairman's got the inside track.
well, I'm going to
you
ask
would
you a
kinda think
rhetorical
so.
question.
Yeah,
Mayor.
what's that?
What happens if it's 3-3?
I know that. The chairman breaks the tie. Chairman Weezer would come in and break the tie.
Yep,
So,
Really?
It's happened.
it has happened.
Yes.
in Maryville.
So for those of you that aren't familiar, this is a good story. So we have a sheriff, Sheriff Bunchich, who's currently in federal prison. Yes, we have a sheriff that's in federal prison right now. This
Former sheriff.
former sheriff, excuse me.
I mean,
And-
I think Oscar would appreciate you.
Yeah,
saying
thank you.
former.
Sorry, Oscar. Sorry,
Oscar's like,
Oscar.
what?
Love Oscar. The Tortilla Nueva Leon will pull our sponsorship if I don't clarify that. But so at the time, our sheriff got indicted. He was also the chairman of the Lake County Democratic Party. So he gets indicted. He's losing his job. But as chairman, he calls a caucus together to replace himself, right? And there's, I don't know, let's say 550, 600 total votes. Everybody has to show up and vote for the new chairman. There's literally, let's just say there's 500 plus people in the room, and they vote for the next chairman, for the next sheriff.
Yeah,
And it's a damn tie.
yeah. Next year.
Can you freaking believe it? Only in Lake County, Indiana, does this happen. There's a tie, and who has to break the tie?
For the next chairman, it was Weezer.
It was for it wasn't for the sheriff. It was for the next chairman. So who has to break the tie? The indicted sheriff, who's the current chairman, breaks the tie and that was just so classic.
You know
it was
what?
just so perfect. Yeah, Lake County, welcome to Northwest Indiana politics.
What's the chances?
There's no chance
no
in hell.
chance.
There's no chance in hell. That was just so perfect. Like,
You know what? I mean, it couldn't happen anywhere else. And someday I keep
no.
on telling myself I'm going to write a book about Northwest Indiana and about some of the crazy things that happen, and that's going to be a chapter because it couldn't happen anywhere else.
you know, so just for those of you that are unfamiliar with how it's going to go, I just want to explain it. So once Mayor Stahura steps down, immediately under Indiana law, the clerk treasurer will take over as the temporary mayor until the Lake County Democratic Party calls a caucus of the Whiting Democratic Precinct Committeemen.
Which should happen within 30 days.
Within 30 days, those 6 people will choose the next mayor.
So I'm sure Chairman Weezer is
and then
getting ready to do that.
And the next mayor will serve out the rest of Mayor Stahura's term, at which point they have to run and the voters get to choose.
And here's the thing that everybody keeps on worrying about, and I've heard a lot of consternation and concern on Facebook, for example. Look, all 3 of those individuals, okay, they all share the vision. They all share the idea that Whiting has a lot to offer and will move forward. And so at the end of the day, no offense, Mayor, you and I have talked about this before. You and I had a conversation a couple of years ago, and you said, we were talking about the future of Hammond. And I said, we need you. And you said, hey, look, if I'm not here, it's still going to move forward. It's still going to happen. And so,
will Whiting.
So will whiting.
That's
and,
right.
and it'll heal, and it'll come back, and
Yeah.
everything's going to be fine.
It's a stain. It's embarrassing.
Absolutely.
But they will march forward.
It sure will. And, obviously, we all feel bad for
It's a
what
gorgeous
happened to
little-
Mayor Joe, and it's a great little city by the lake.
I feel
Yeah,
horrible.
and
I know Mayor Joe and Diane very well. They're good people.
And you don't know the details of why and how, and there's all these considerations. And I had a friend of mine text me this morning who said, well, why didn't he borrow from his 401k? Why didn't he do this?
Right.
And I said, why are you asking me?
Right.
I mean, how do I know?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. And again, I feel bad
Bill
about
Dolan
it.
did a story. Bill Dolan did a story today, and it was interesting. He said, Mayor Joe was never contested.
No.
And because he was never contested, his campaign account swells with money. It's like my campaign account has money, and then like Marissa runs for judge, and then I got no money anymore, right? And then I have money, and then I run for Congress, and then I have no money anymore, right? But my campaign account's up and down, and Mayor Joe was the type of mayor that never had an opponent because people just liked him, and so his campaign account just swells and just bam, he just got a couple $100,000, I imagine.
Again,
Tom,
he did a great job, but he's got to live with this legacy now.
Just to kind of round this out, I saw on the internet last night, like when people were talking about our show that you were coming on. Oh, they're having Tom Dabertin on because he wants to be Mayor White.
Oh, you know what?
So let's just
I got 11 text messages
explain
yesterday
why you can't be Mayor White.
because I live in Robertsdale.
You live in Hammond.
I live in
By the way,
Hammond.
thank you.
Robertsdale residents, I want to break the news to you. You live in Hammond, okay? Let's just get this straight. I hear that all the time.
I know.
So, where do you live? I live in Whiting. Oh, what's your address? They tell me. I'm like, that's Hammond. You don't live in Whiting. That's your post office box.
That's right.
Whiting. You live in Hammond. You vote for the Hammond mayor.
All right,
You heard that, Mylan?
So if you,
That's right. Mylan's not the one that says
No,
it.
Mylan always says Hammond.
No, but
right.
so a few years ago,
knows better.
I look out my front window and I see fire engines, and I'm like, wow, what the heck is going on? So I go outside, and there's a rental property across the street, and I look, and the fire engines say Whiting Fire Department. And I'm thinking, wow, this is unique because usually, let's face it, Hammond backs up Whiting. Whiting never backs up Hammond. So I go out there, and it was Bruce Stolman, who was the captain. And I said, Bruce, what's going on? And Bruce is like, well, he goes, we had this lady, and she called us. And she called us on the non-emergency line and said she smelled gas. And he said, we got the call, and Hammond was tied up, so he went to it.
Nice.
And right then, here comes Jeff Smith coming around the corner.
Hammond Fire,
like, get out of here.
Chief.
Smitty's a good friend. Yeah, Smitty's like, hey, you're on the wrong side of the line. Get over there. It's
Hammond
like,
Fire Chief.
You know what? So we appreciate that discussion about Whiting, Tom. Let's.
Could I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, Mayor.
Like, this is the Mascot Hall of Fame. Like, that, beautiful building, right? And obviously nobody realizes when they build, and when Mayor Joe, this is one of his legacy projects. Baseball stadium's amazing. 119th Street,
Unbelievable.
Whiting Park. I mean, he's
Awesome.
done so many good things, right?
In such a small town, he's
you
done
have
so
some
much.
hits and misses.
Yep.
I honestly think, and I'm going to go boldly out and say, I think that the Mascot Hall of Fame is going to be a big miss. I really think that, there may be some groupthink that was going on there. Because I think if you take the Mascot Hall of Fame and it's like at Navy Pier in downtown Chicago, huge success. Mascot Hall of Fame in a high-profile location, maybe off of 8094, huge success. The thing that I fear about that $20 million project is it is literally hard to find. I'm from Hammond.
agree.
I know my way around very well, and it's hard.
Look, I think here's the problem, okay? And you were aware of it. You were very aware of it, in fact. When the whole discussion first came about of a museum, it was that Chicago Baseball Museum.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
There were the
That's
guys out of
awesome.
Chicago.
Yeah, right.
And they were talking about building a baseball museum. And the baseball museum would have worked great because
Next to Oil City.
next to Oil City, Major League Baseball knows that it's very, very hard to get people to go to upstate New York to Cooperstown.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea was they were going to build this place in somewhere in the Midwest, and it was going to be, another baseball museum, and it would have been great. And when that didn't work out, somehow, Joe and whoever else came up with this idea of the Mascot Hall of Fame. And I, for one, kind of agree with you. I'd like to see it a success.
Sure.
I think, everybody wants to see it successful, but I think it has a real challenge.
Well,
I really do.
here's a great example, right? My brother Matt from California comes in. He always comes in to see my mom and dad at Christmas time. He's got 3 girls, so my nieces come in. They take my boys there. Right after it opened, it was just opening, right? How was it, Matt? Awesome. It was great. Had a good time. What do you think? He said, well, you're not going back. We went once.
Yeah.
It's a one-time shot, right? I mean, maybe you go for the induction ceremony, but it's a one-time deal. So think about the Sportsplex in Hammond.
Yeah.
Same price.
Same price.
I've been
Same
there.
time we were built.
Since it's opened, I've been there 50 times.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, as you know, I know a little bit about museums, and the problem is that you want those repeat visitors.
That's right.
Okay, and it's going to be tough to get those repeat visitors.
Sure.
You get schools in there, right? You get schools in there every year.
Schools, but
can it support it?
But like
it's
the thing is, honestly, so like let's say Whiting is like we're definitely building the Mascot Hall of Fame. Then why do you build it right there? Like, even if you move, and I understand why you wanted it there because it's going to help the downtown district and it's right next to the stadium, but nobody sees it there. Like, at least if you took it and moved it over onto Boulevard on 119th Street, someplace you increase the traffic count 50 to 100,000 people a day.
There have always been arguments about pro and con about the location, and there's actually, and I don't think this is true. There's some people that will walk around town and claim that it's just a front for basically leasing the building to BP Oil at some point. I don't think that's true, but
they'd be a good tenant.
But
well, that's not a horrible idea. At least there's some
or resurrect the baseball idea.
But it's to me the baseball idea is still an awesome idea. But again, I don't think it's going to happen.
Like nobody would see it. Like I mean, if the Mascot Hall of Fame in downtown Chicago on Navy Pier kills.
Sure.
Right,
it does.
Mascot Hall of Fame where it's currently located, and I compare projects because I'm competitive. And Hammond and Whiting, we compete for the same customers, and I was doing a $20 million project in Hammond, the Hammond Sportsplex, at the same time that Whiting was doing their $20 million project. And for a while we compared like crowd size and stuff like that, and it's just I'm not trying to be down on the Mascot Hall of Fame. I just think.
No, and I agree with you.
It's got challenges,
but I think the problem.
Is
that it's called COVID-19.
Yeah,
okay?
That certainly didn't help.
So you're trying to launch a new museum during COVID-19, and what I remember from the American Association of Museums is that there's actually an organization that I used to belong to that your first year is your banner year. And you will not reclaim the attendance that you had in your first year for the next 5 years.
Right.
Which means you got a real difficult challenge because your first year is impacted by COVID-19. And it's just a challenge. And again, I hope it's successful. I hope we're all wrong.
For sure.
It's a challenge.
During Pierogi Fest. Did you have something?
No, Amir, I was just going to say it's a good time to take a break and talk about the rest of our sponsors.
And then we'll come back and talk some
Thanks
Pierogi
for listening
Fest.
to the first half of Left to Center podcast. Tom Dabertin, we're going to talk Pierogi Fest. We're going to talk Spiros Spadastados and the SSCVA.
Oh, yeah.
And
Get ready.
And the battle pay that Tom Dabertin gets paid. Just
and
to
you're
be on
listening
that board.
to
Left of Center.
So let's do some sponsors, Mayor.
All right, let's go. Emerald Green Restaurant. The Emerald Green is a fine dining experience located at the beautiful Lost Marsh Golf Course just off the Indiana Toll Road. Come sit on the scenic patio overlooking the first tee with a breathtaking view of Chicago, or dine at the beautiful Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired clubhouse and bar. Open year-round. We also have a banquet hall for all your catering needs. Please come and enjoy our family-friendly environment, great Italian food, and more. Visit our website for more info at emeraldgreen@lostmarsh.com.
Can I just jump in and say that anybody who has not been to Lost Marsh to the Emerald Green is missing something.
Agreed.
It is the most spectacular view in Northwest Indiana.
Gorgeous.
It is the greatest place on earth to sit outside and eat and drink.
And people may think, oh, that's a private club. Open.
A lot of people think that.
Open to the public. Go check it out. Walk into the clubhouse. Go upstairs. Have a great meal at Emerald Green. Sit out on the patio on a beautiful evening in the region.
Spectacular.
Check it out. You can't beat it. Okay. Bob's Plastering and Painting. Bob's Plastering, a new sponsor, provides professional, affordable, and reliable plastering and painting services with over 30 years of experience. We're ready to serve you and brighten up your home or office. They are licensed, bonded, and insured. Call today to schedule a free estimate at 616-6609. That's 219-616-6609. Check out before and after pictures at bobsplasteringandpainting.com.
Rapid Fire, 5,000 square feet of Nerf arena space. Mayor Tom coupon code for $50 off a full arena experience is expiring on Monday, August 31st. Check out Rapid Fire NWI on Facebook and make a reservation. Rapid Fire NWI in Griffith. Go out and get some aggression. Go get out some aggression and fire Nerf balls for a couple hours. Use the code Mayor Tom to get $50 off. Don't forget they feature Lou Malnati's Pizza.
Do they get discounts when you make mistakes or what?
Yeah, right.
Bigger discounts.
They would get them all the time.
Shoops Hamburgers. My favorite, of course, is the Mickey. Named one of the best burgers in Chicagoland, Shoops has been a mainstay of the fast food scene since 1948. In addition to burgers, they offer a variety of diner favorites that won't break the bank. Come down to Hammond and visit the original Shoops location just off the 8094 Indianapolis Boulevard North exit at 173rd and Indianapolis Boulevard. Visit their website at shoophamburgers.com to take a look at the menu.
And if you see a guy that's wearing like a biking a shirt and he's kind of sweating in the corner, drinking down a bunch of like root
Green
beers,
River.
that's me. Or
Nice.
Green River or root beers.
Can't get Green River anywhere else except
That's
Shoops
right.
that I know.
That's right.
Shoops got a great new parking lot, too. Go check out the new parking lot.
It needed
Parking
it.
lots are expensive. It was the worst.
It was bad.
Also, committee to elect Jeremy Rivas. Jeremy is a longtime friend of mine personally. Great elected official. He's a Porter County councilman. Does a great job for the residents of Porter County.
Sure
Him
does.
and his wife Nina, who's she's also an office holder in the city of Porter. She's the clerk treasurer there. I want to thank him very much for sponsoring the show. Committee to elect Jeremy Rivas, Porter County councilman. He's a great guy. He's a Democrat, and he's the kind of guy that Republicans vote for also because
They sure do.
he's the kind of guy that just brings people together. So thank you very much, Jeremy Rivas.
Thank you, Councilman.
Porter County councilman, for sponsoring the show as well.
All right, let's get back at it. Part 2.
So before we even go to Pierogi Fest, I want to clarify something from an earlier show. Okay, the mayor tells a story
All right, we've already made
about
mistakes.
China. No, he tells a story about China.
Yeah,
okay,
it was a good trip.
about the tea.
Yeah.
all right, and all I can
was
say
like
is
the
it's absolutely
20,000
true. It was like $20,000 a cup. All right, and we're sitting
There's
there.
a lot of people there.
And it tasted worse than swamp water. It was horrible. It was horrible.
I drank it.
It was you drank it and you're like, oh yes, really good. And it's like you're like
I didn't
fighting
spill
back.
any. It
No,
happened.
you didn't. But it was wow.
It was crazy. We met some it was an incredible trip.
was an
Remember
incredible
the
trip.
basketball game we played with
Don't remind him.
it was on ESPN.
Yeah, don't remind me. But I'll tell you what.
It was on China's ESPN. It was,
What's that
But-
called?
I don't know.
CSPN.
It was
it's
like-
a knockoff, I can tell you that.
It was like 37
Same logo.
degrees. It was like freezing
Dude, it was
cold.
so
It was
cold.
Yeah, it was freezing. I'm just like standing. I'm shivering.
So,
You're
this is
trying
how
to
it
throw
goes
me the
down.
ball. My hands are shaking.
We were working, okay? And then part of this was, okay, we're going to take you to this school. It was an amazing school. It was like a
Right.
boarding school. And we're going to go speak to the kids. And then after that, there's this huge basketball game. It's going to be televised. And I had a team. I mean, I don't remember, 8, 9 people in our delegation.
There was about 9 of us. Yeah.
And we made sure that I had a basketball team in that delegation because we knew before we even flew out that we were playing a Chinese team, right? I'm not a basketball player. So we get out there, and Tom Daberton's like the biggest person in China. Right?
Yeah, everybody's walking, looking.
You mean
Bar
you
none,
mean
right?
tallest.
Remember when
yeah.
you tried to get a jacket because it was
Oh, yeah,
colder,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
so
right.
Tom had to go get a coat, and there wasn't
We
a
don't
coat
have-
in
we don't have
China.
a coat your size.
There was it was hilarious. We
They had a
actually
coat that would cover one arm. That was
so anyway, we're
Up to the elbows.
So we go to the school, and I'm speaking to the Chinese students, and then we get done, and it was raining and cold, right?
oh, it was horrible.
It was like rainy, like cold, like
And you're like, they're not going to
it was an outdoor court. I'm like, no, I'm not playing basketball sport. I'm not good at outdoor in the rain. It's just not happening, right? So they were really concerned. They're like, oh my God, this is gonna be horrible. And they're like, can you just please just go out there and just say hi to everybody?
Now, when you roll up, there's how many people?
So we get in a bus and we roll up. They had Tom. I'm not gonna exaggerate.
Thousands of people
Yes.
out there. Yeah.
Outside in the rain, thousands waiting for us. And I'm like, so we pull up. I'm like, let's get our stuff on. We're playing basketball, right? Like these people are sitting in the
You
rain
have a
waiting
mascot
for.
waiting for you.
They
And-
had
and
like
you're trying to
mascots
catch-
waiting for us.
be
Right,
in the
but
Mascot Hall of Fame.
you're trying to catch a wet ball. Okay,
Yeah.
a wet ball that's covered with like snow and ice and rain.
Why do
and
I
it was
sense
just-
excuses here?
Yeah,
It's
you know
like,
what? 'Cause
we
it
know
was
the
hor- it
Chinese
was
guys
horrible.
didn't have any problem.
It was horrible. Yeah, because you know what? They were cheating. They were drying the ball.
Yeah,
But-
they were
but I'll
calling,
tell
they
you
were
what,
calling
there's-
us ticky tack.
There's another story that
Chinese
actually I want
refs.
to tell about our China
We
trip, which-
embarrassed our country though. Like we have
Yes,
to.
we did.
We
We
lost
did.
to Chinese in the American
lost.
sport.
That is
Yes.
not acceptable.
But
It was embarrassing.
I'll tell you what, the best story I think.
I
about
made the
China
rest of the
trip-
crew fly home early.
Yeah,
I was
you're
so
like, you gotta
embarrassed.
get
the
back.
hell out of this
the
country.
best story of the China trip is when you said to me, we're in Beijing, and you said, hey, you know what? Let's sneak away and really see what Beijing is like.
That was awesome.
Okay, so
We went without an interpreter,
we go without an interpreter.
which is impossible.
Right, and over
It's
there,
impossible.
yeah, the interpreters are also like minders, okay? So they're kind of keeping track.
Well,
of
yeah.
where you're
Remember,
going.
we had 2 interpreters.
Communist Party.
We had one
Communist
interpreter
Party.
we liked. She was nice, and we had the communist.
right.
And the communist never smiled.
They were probably both communists, but she was
But
the nice
they were
communist.
both. But like we had the
She
nice.
was a nicer communist.
She was an English teacher, so she was like you could tell she was like pro-American. By the
Remember, her
way,
nickname was Sophie.
Sophie was she
Sophie,
was so
yeah,
nice.
she
And
was
then the
nice.
other one was like a hard ass. And then they would have people following us around with TV cameras, and we're like, "Wow, we're on TV." And then after a while, you're like, "I don't know if we're on
maybe
TV.
they're not on TV. They're
filming
just
us."
tracking us. So the mayor comes up with this idea. He's like, "Hey, Tom, come on. You're adventurous." He goes, "You and I, we're going to sneak out that service door out of the hotel, and we're going to go see the real Beijing."
Yeah,
Those
that's
camera guys, the minders won't find us.
Right. So we go running down the street.
No interpreter.
Remember, we get to the bird's
It's the
nest.
last. It was the last day.
Right. We go to the bird's
right.
nest, and we get to the bird's nest, and the mayor says, "Wow, this is beautiful." And he's go, "But man, I smell something."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he realizes that the river in front of the bird's nest is just an open sewer.
It was nasty.
Oh, it was
Beijing.
nasty.
In the Olympic
Capital
Village.
city.
In the Olympic Village.
This is where they held the Olympics. And it had a sign in it that said, "Do not swim." I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Didn't need that
I'm glad
sign
that was
there.
in English.
Yeah, right?
And then on the way back, he comes up with the idea, we're going to take a shortcut through this neighborhood.
This is
We
so
went
cool.
through one of these wet markets, okay, that you hear about.
Yeah.
We
COVID.
went through one.
We did.
And we're
COVID
standing
started
there,
in the wet market.
and the mayor says, "Hey, I was in the Navy, I can
Wuhan.
take this." And we go through, and right then, this lady comes up to us, and she says, like, "Chicken," and she just, remember, she had the live chicken, she just cut the head off right in front of us.
Maybe
True story.
Daberton started COVID.
Well, I'm telling you, yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
could be.
seriously, that's you remember that very well, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah, absolutely.
Because we were like led around like little doggies. We were led around the whole time, and finally we broke the chains and went out of
We
our
broke
own.
free.
We did, but
Yeah,
like,
and then we came back, and they're all, like, staring us down. It's like, the mayor's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
we're in trouble."
Well, speaking of breaking the change, let's talk about the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau.
yeah,
I thought we were talking about Pierogi Fest.
yeah, right.
We're gonna get that's a happy story.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Tom is the City Hammond appointee, and we're in a lawsuit with the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau.
We are
So Tom is like treated like trash every time.
True?
They talk about the
No,
city.
Here's the thing. When they have the discussion about the lawsuit, they have repeatedly voted to exclude Bernie Grisolia and myself, okay? And Bernie's the other representative. And, my view always has been, and I mentioned before, Mayor knows I've been on a lot of boards and commissions, that once you're on that board or commission, you represent that organization. And you don't represent necessarily the organizing, the authority that appointed you. And
You're a board member of the
So
organization.
So they refused to allow me. And, all I can say is that, I hear little bits and pieces, and they tell me, "Oh, we've got a deal." And it's like, I'll call the mayor, and the mayor's like, "Huh? What?" It's like, so all I can say is that Convention and Visitors Bureau is authority is, running into the same challenges that everybody else is. I will say that Spiros has done a great job cutting costs. He jokingly said he was going to start cutting the lawn out there, and to be honest with you, with the way things are with COVID-19, you might be driving by Kennedy Avenue soon and seeing a guy that looks vaguely familiar cutting the grass because it's getting to that point.
Well, think about it. What events have happened? I mean, when we had Wham, that was one of the.
Well, they get paid by heads
Sure.
and
They
beds.
get paid
Heads and
right,
beds.
heads and beds, and
There's
there
not a
just
lot of
aren't.
heads and beds, right?
I mean, businesses are not saying, "Hey, Kevin, let's send you on a business trip."
That's right.
And so there aren't those, beds or heads and beds, and you don't have festivals like Festival of Lakes, Pierogi Fest that fill up hotels, and so it's a very difficult time for the Visitors Authority, no doubt about it.
So we got a couple questions.
Sure.
Lisette
you
wants
go.
to know how taxes will be affected by the loss of Clark High School. Will they increase or decrease? Well, Lisette, Clark High School doesn't pay any property taxes because it's a unit of government.
Non-taxable.
If, let's say once Clark High School shuts down and the city acquires it and we build houses where Clark High School is, or like condos, like Tom said, maybe there's retail on the bottom and like condos on top. And then in the athletic fields, which are also non-taxable right now, we build a bunch of houses. Like Kevin said, we get 80 houses out there in a very nice neighborhood. You'll actually see property taxes come in from property that was not generating any property taxes before. So I think that's a positive thing. And like
Absolutely.
Tom mentioned earlier is, we could have people buying houses in Hammond that normally wouldn't, and maybe they bring their money, they go on 119th and spent it.
Well, here, look at Illinois. Okay, look at the Illinois suburbs of Chicago. Okay, people live in Hinsdale and Elmhurst and all those communities because it's so close.
That's right.
To Chicago, and all of a sudden you've got this opportunity to have people living closer than they could ever live to downtown Chicago. They can live in Whiting, Robertsdale.
In brand new houses.
In brand new houses, really nice homes. I mean, the conceptuals are awesome.
And they could be in downtown in 20 minutes.
20 minutes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
In
Good
fact, they
traffic.
can ride their bike in less than an hour to downtown Chicago. I've done it 12 times.
For sure.
Do
Riding your
12
bike
times
from
this
your
year.
house to downtown Chicago is totally feasible.
Totally.
I mean, if you're going to work and you'll have enough time to rest, you could commute to Chicago from a bike during a good year easily. And it's not even that hard. It's 20 miles each way.
Actually, it's less.
Yeah, depending on what part of the loop you're going to. Right.
18.96 to Buckingham Fountain. So
you
you're
go.
right. By the time you get in the loop, it's 20.
I mean, people probably don't even know there's a brand new bike trail that goes right by the data center, right into Calumet Park.
I'm telling you.
Right by the marina.
From Robertsdale.
What an awesome trail.
From Robertsdale to downtown Chicago to Buckingham Fountain, you're only on the road for a little bit of time. And it's actually a bike trail on the road. You're not actually, you feel safe. I feel safe all the time.
Yeah, because once you hit La Rabida, you're
on the
lakefront
You're on the lakefront trail the whole way. But like getting to La Rabida, that's the part that I think might scare some people. You're going through neighborhoods and, U.S. Steel.
It's still pretty safe, though.
Yeah, but you have U.S. Steel and you got cars going by at 50 miles an hour and you're on a bike trail separated, but still.
But see, here's where people make mistakes. Now, you know it and I know it. After you go through the U.S. Steel property, you go through Rainbow Park Beach. Okay.
Oh, I don't. I go through the neighborhood.
Trail. See, that trail is awesome.
Oh, really?
That is one of the best trails in Chicago.
Oh, I always go through the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Jump off. Go through the park. You come out at like 75th, and then you have 4 blocks on South Shore Drive, which is all marked, and then you're on the lakefront trail.
Hey, Tom, Doty wants to know if Spiros cut his own salary because of what's going on with South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau budget.
There has been no cut to his salary.
It's an excessive salary too.
There has been.
How much do you think he makes, Kev? Taking a guess. This is a guess, obviously.
Haven't seen the documentation, so I guess I'd guess. I don't know, 180.
I say it's closer to 250 plus. If you're counting benefits and all that, 250. I mean, which is 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know what his whole
makes.
package.
So
is.
3 times what the governor makes.
Guys.
Governor doesn't make enough. Governor doesn't make enough.
I agree.
In my opinion.
The governor doesn't make
enough.
The governor should be making $250 a year.
Without a doubt, at least. Yeah.
Right, but Spiros, to get the top job in Indiana, you want to become the Convention and Visitors Bureau head of Lake County, so that you can get the huge salary. I mean, why would you want to be governor when you could be head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau?
You got a few others.
You
got a few other positions too. I mean,
what's that?
You've got the RDA, which pays some pretty top dollars too.
I agree, but I wouldn't even compare the RDA to Spiros' job.
No. I agree. But I'm just. Who makes more, Bill Hanna or the head of the Regional Development Authority, which is in charge of $100 million every year?
Well, it's about to be in charge or helping with a $800 million project.
So this gentleman, Bill Hanna, who runs the RDA, or Spiros Batistatos, who's in charge of hotels and motels.
As you know, I've been on both boards, so I actually know the answer. But
So who makes more?
Actually, I think Hannah might.
Really?
By a little bit.
I don't know. I'm going to call BS on that one.
I think so, but
I think Spiros makes more than Hannah.
That's a good question.
Well,
we're going to find out.
You got to take in the whole compensation, all the benefits, everything.
Okay,
I mean,
that's interesting. That's an interesting question.
I think it's pretty close, but you're right.
We should have Hannah on the show and ask him.
Hannah would be good.
Bill does a good job.
He'd be good,
but he doesn't have gray hair.
He doesn't. Well, it's okay. We're gonna prove you wrong. It's not just gray-haired guys that are coming on.
Hey, Tom, can we go Pierogi Fest?
Absolutely.
Obviously, you guys missed out this year.
How hard was that to cancel?
As you guys know, in fact, I gotta say this. It was one of the most difficult decisions that I've had to make in a long, long time because, of course, I'm the co-founder. I've been the chairman the whole time. This was really, it's my baby.
There's some people listening that don't know what Pierogi Fest is. Could you explain it?
So Pierogi Fest has become one of the largest events in the state of Indiana. It draws 350,000 people to downtown Whiting in 2.5 days every year. It is second only to the Indy 500 in social media hits. We draw about 1.68 million social media hits a year. It's a fantastic, very fun event. It's all run by volunteers. It's all organized by volunteers. It takes about 650 of us to put it together, and I'm proud and privileged to be the chairman. But I have to say it was one of the most difficult decisions I had to make, and I got to give credit to somebody, and that's the mayor. When you learned that I had pulled the plug on it, you called me.
Yeah.
And you just called me.
Because we were still going with the
fest.
Right,
but you just called me, and it was one of the nicest calls I've actually gotten from you because you called and just said, "How are you doing?"
Yeah.
And you said, "Hey, look, that had to be really tough."
Wow.
And I know this is upsetting. I know it's difficult.
When did that happen? February? No.
No. It was April. It was April.
Right. Because you guys did it before us.
Right.
We ended up following suit a few months later.
How did the Bushes and Mr. Pierogi take it?
Well, the Bushes and Mr. Pierogi, the Bushes are still making a couple of visits now and then. We did have the parade, by the way, because my crazy brother David decided to put out a very hilarious email that basically said, when the Italians invaded Normandy and when the French, when the French landed on the moon, did anything
Animal
hold
House,
them up?
right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. He reads the script of Animal
When
House.
the Germans attacked Pearl Harbor, did we say?
It was in there. He had the Germans attack. Yeah, he stole it from Animal House.
great.
But anyway, David sends out this email, so about 24 of us did march. And there were 75 people along the street, 119th Street, and there was this one Hispanic family. And they're standing right near the boulevard, and they had no idea what was going on, right? And they're just looking at us, and we're marching down the street, and I'm wearing the coconut bra and the grass skirt, pushing a lawnmower. And I waved to
That
him, and
is
the guy's
disturbing.
like,
That's a disturbing
and,
thought.
And the
Every
guy,
year.
Do you have different coconut bras, or you wear
no,
the
it's the
same
same
one?
coconut bra, actually.
How do you
Yeah.
wash that thing? You got
You know what? The coconut bra, so everybody thinks that's been my outfit. the whole
Tom
time.
wears this damn thing too. Like
Yes.
he was in a newspaper, basically naked.
Yeah.
With a coconut
Yeah,
bra,
yes.
barely
It's
covering
one of
his,
his
Every year.
claims to fame.
Yeah, I
barely
do it
covering
every
his
year.
privates.
Look, I do it every year, and the
That's your birthday too, right?
Is Rick
It's my
Mossels in
birthday.
favor or against the coconut bra?
okay, Rick Mossels usually helps organize the so-called practice. So Rick has drank enough practice that he doesn't care.
He's pro coconut
but
bra at that
but
point.
it actually
I'm looking for this online. I can't find
the
it.
idea.
Oh,
no, you gotta
can you
find
bust
it.
that?
I'm looking for it.
No, that's
It's on
okay.
there.
That's
No,
okay.
Or
Time's
the
online,
Animal
time's
House scene, John.
You know what?
Yeah.
The idea for
Copyright
the
infringement.
idea
Yeah.
for
not
the
a
idea
photo
for
of
the
it.
outfit actually came from my daughter.
Really?
Yeah,
Good job, Rachel.
She was like 7 years old, 8 years old, and she's like, "Dad, you should wear this outfit." And it's like, okay. And
We'll give Rachel credit.
yeah, I think we sanitize everything that's on.
You
the,
sanitize.
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
it.
we
don't
pull it
put
off.
You did a
coconut
good job of
bra.
scrubbing
We
that.
pull it
Tom.
off. Yeah, we
Yeah.
make sure we scrub that one.
can't
we
find
don't
it.
want
There's Mr.
Hey.
Pierogi.
Hey Tom,
Yes, sir.
I know I've known you for a long time. I wanted to change gears if that's all right. We can go back to the picture if John finds it. But
So you can
there's a-
embarrass the hell out of me. Yeah,
no,
go
no,
for
this
it.
is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
embarrassing. This is your father tragically passed away at a very young age, right? And
Yeah.
I remember you telling me a story about your dad that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well,
Do
you
mind-
actually read his memoirs.
Yeah, do you mind actually
Yeah,
repeating
no,
that if
no.
you don't mind?
So-
This is a really cool story.
So my dad, a lot of people know the story about my mom, and we'll probably get to that.
There
in
you
a
go.
Oh, look at
There you
That's
go.
not the coconut bra,
No,
but,
but
it
that's-
gives you a
Be
taste of what we're
be
talking
careful
about.
about that one. He doesn't have his bra
That's like
on.
worse.
Can you
okay.
put that up?
Yes.
Oh, that's like
We got to put
worse.
that up.
I have it.
But
I'm
Lindsay's
working on
losing
it.
her eyesight. I mean, my God, you're.
But
you're
this is
damaging
keep in
your
mind, this
daughter's-
is not the coconut
Lindsay's
bra.
like,
No,
I-
the
Here
coconut
it
bra
is.
is
It's on.
worse, right?
I
Coconut
honestly
bra's
think
worse.
Daberton likes being naked in pictures. That's
You
my
know,
thing.
it is what
Is
it
that like
is.
a
He's
half
like,
coconut?
this is how he fishes for girlfriends. So,
Yeah, there you
he's
go,
like-
there you go.
You get a
Lindsay's
little,
like, I can't unsee that.
All right, getting back to my dad.
you get a little idea of what you're facing when you. So anyway, yeah.
So-
Would
so
you talk
my
about
dad-
that? I remember it's a pretty incredible story.
Yeah, so my dad was actually born in Montenegro, which was part of Yugoslavia.
Yep.
And now an independent country. But World War II broke out. By the way, this is kind of crazy because he was a engineering student at Hanover University. And this is one to work on, guys, and Kevin, especially you. David, for years, has tried to get his transcripts from Hanover University in Germany. They will not release them to David. And the reason why is they said only the student can request them. And David's like, well, excuse me, my dad's been
been
dead
gone
since
for a while.
1961,
Right.
and they won't release them. So we can't get the transcripts. Anyway, war breaks out. My dad serves in the Yugoslav Air Force and gets captured and ends up actually for a short time in Luft 3. Okay.
Wow.
He's an engineer. He ends up in Luft 3. Luft 3 is the site of the Great Escape. They transfer him then to Stalag 17. And he is in Stalag 17. And he tries to escape a number of times and finally is liberated. The reason why he probably survived, most of the times when you escaped, basically they went shot you, okay? The reason why he survived was that the Germans were very, very short on translators. And my dad spoke 7 languages fluently. And so, these are not all, Slavic languages. He spoke German, he spoke Spanish, he spoke Italian, he spoke French, spoke English. So he was able to translate. And the German soldiers basically needed somebody to translate.
Well, that's big value. That's high value.
So they finally, after, escaping, they reassign him for a period of time to a concentration camp. And for years, I thought it was Bergen-Belsen. My sister actually has done some research, and we think he was at Buchenwald, which Buchenwald, of course, was it was Auschwitz-Buchenwald, and he was there. They brought him back. He gets liberated. He ends up with the RAF and is basically in charge of a supply battalion. And then after the war, the Allied powers asked him to stay on as a translator. And as I understand it, he tries to find out about his family, and he's told that his family is gone. Well, it ends up that his family actually, his dad was well educated, and he took the family into the mountains. And so they couldn't find the family, but the family was there, but they were in the mountains. So my dad comes to the United States.
What year?
I think he comes in about 48 or so.
Wow.
48, 49. Comes to the United States, comes here, goes to Purdue, finishes his engineering degree, works at Republic Steel, and meets my mother at Madura's Dance Land.
Right in the 5 Points.
Yeah, right at 5 Points. And
did he move to Whiting, or did he move to Robertsdale?
Yeah, they actually settled the first place they lived was right on Indianapolis Boulevard, down near about Fred Street. The building is gone, burned down many years ago, and then moved to Robertsdale. And basically, good. My mother was Catholic. My dad was Orthodox, but good Catholic upbringing there. They had 6 kids in about 8 years, my mother always, my mother, and you met her, she was a very small woman and, very petite. And she used to walk up to women all the time and tell them when they were pregnant, "Oh, you'll love this. I had 6 kids in less than 8 years, and look at me, and and my one son weighed, I weighed almost 13 pounds at birth, and it's
Good
like,
God.
she's,
Poor
and
mom.
and
That's a
David
big
was
bowling ball.
12, and
That
David
didn't
was
stop.
12
I mean,
pounds.
look at him.
Yeah, and David was 12 pounds. So she'd tell those stories, and you'd see women and be like, "Oh," and but she raised the 6 of us, and it was about 1963 or 64. A lot of people remember Horace Mamala.
Sure.
And
North Township trustee.
Horace shows up at our house. The first time I met Horace, I remembered that I was mesmerized by the fact that he had gold teeth. Okay, he had those gold teeth, and
Before it was popular.
but he came and he said that he had good news, that they had found Mike's. My dad's name was Mike. They had found Mike's family and located them, and they were alive. And my
Holy
mother
cow.
then told him that my dad was dead. So my mom raised us, and
How old was your father when he passed?
39.
And how old were you?
What
I was actually. He died 3 days before my first birthday.
Wow.
So
So
yeah,
you
that's
never-
part of the story I forgot to tell. When my dad, they didn't just say, "Oh, hey, come on back in, you escaped, we captured you." They beat him in the head.
Really?
And so
That's what led to his death?
Yeah, he complained about headaches all the time and complained about the head beatings, and basically they determined that he died of a cerebral hemorrhage.
That
of
sucks.
an
And then, so
aneurysm.
your mom is raising six kids?
She raises 6 kids by herself, and
I know she ends up getting like a national award, right?
well, she ends up actually as Ladies' Home Journal Woman of the Year.
Yeah.
And
I'll
back
say.
in the day, that was quite an award.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
her predecessor was, one of her predecessors the year before was Barbara Walters. So
Wow.
I mean, yeah, she won. My sister actually wrote the nomination letter for her, and it was
nice.
kind of wacky. My mother.
Because, I mean, it was unusual, I imagine, a single woman raising 6 kids by herself. I mean, that's in the 60s?
Yeah, so they come up. In fact, my mom told us, a lot of people came up to her back then and said, give some of your kids up for adoption. And she
And
said,
I think back
no way.
then-
They were talking about you.
But that's
yeah,
what they
back
did.
then,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely.
They were talking about Tom.
Who was the 13-pounder?
13-pounder? Get him out of here.
Yeah. But
He's going to eat you out of the house.
But she raised us. She did a great job. We've all gone on and made her proud. But
Yeah, you have.
basically, in 1976, Ladies' Home Journal announces that they're going to search for a Woman of the Year that's an unsung heroine, and they start this contest, and they award it in 1977. And it's this nationwide contest. My sister writes the letter. Now, typical. My mom was a very private person. Didn't really. She was upset when she found out she was nominated, but this lady keeps on calling and saying, "I'm so-and-so from Ladies' Home Journal. I'd like to talk to Rita Daberton." And my mother keeps on telling us to tell them, "She already subscribes. Hang up."
Wow.
So she does this for days, and finally the woman says, no, look, I'm calling because your mom was nominated and we need to talk to her. And, as we go through the process, they come out. And the craziest thing I can remember is the week before she wins the award, I go out the alley going to high school, and I see the street department, and they're behind my mom's house. And they're like raking up and cleaning up. And I'm like, well, this is strange.
Oh, wow.
And
Big award.
Well, because Mayor Ruskowski is such a good friend, I call him later in the day and I said, hey, Mayor, why were they working in my mom's alley? I mean, was something wrong? And Mayor's like, no, Tommy, we're going around random, and and he knew about it, and so and she won the award, and she was very proud of it. So
It's not, and it wasn't a leg lamp. It was a big award, but it was the Ladies' Home Journal.
it was Ladies' Home Journal, and she had the necklace that said, "Never underestimate the power of a woman."
There you go. Well,
Right.
Tom, I appreciate you.
There's a
coming
couple questions real quick. Cuss counter is only at 1. I want to point out that was Kevin Smith. To Mrs. Smith, I'm
Whoops.
sorry, but
There
your
you go.
son. I don't know what.
Thank you,
to
Lindsay.
say.
It was not me.
I
It was
did
your-
my
Who was it?
job.
Lindsay,
I
point-
did
who was
my
it?
job.
What did I say?
Oh,
my goodness.
I thought I did.
Kevin said something earlier.
I thought I did.
He did. All right.
Happy
So-
anniversary, by the way.
But I
Kevin.
did my job. I'm
Yeah,
going
by
to
the
ruin
way.
the graph. I'm
So-
going to ruin the graph.
So yeah, good job, Tom. So Kevin's anniversary was 2 days ago.
It was.
Yes.
On the
So
26th.
yesterday, Kevin posts on Facebook his happy anniversary message to his beautiful wife Jana, and then so naturally most people on Facebook land think that Kevin's anniversary is
I
yesterday.
think that I'm actually doing it on time.
So,
'Cause why
like-
would I wait?
So I called Marissa yesterday. At the end of the day, Kevin and I usually prep for each show, and I'm like, okay, I'm going out with Kevin. We're going to prep for the show. And Marissa's like, it's his anniversary. You can't go out with him today. And I'm like, well, I'm
Thank
not
you,
his-
Marissa, for looking out for
I'm
me.
like, Kevin wants to go out tonight. What am I supposed to say? She's like, you can't go out on his anniversary. And she goes, that wouldn't fly in this house. And I'm like, well, I'm not Kevin's
calling
marriage
Jana.
counselor. I mean,
Okay,
No,
I
Jana's
just
my
want to know.
marriage counselor.
But you didn't have Mai Tais, right?
No.
Oh, I didn't tell that story, should I?
Well,
what's that?
Oh, the famous so for years,
I
the
don't know if
mayor
this is a
knew
good story
the
or
mayor
not.
knew that I like sweet drinks, right?
Oh, you're talking
Okay.
California.
Yeah, so
Remember that?
I
Yeah,
mean,
you
we'd
were
be
there.
at events.
I was.
We'd
at
be
a
at
very
events.
very famous
Yes.
bar.
Yeah.
But we'd be at events, and the mayor would come by, and he'd say, "Hey, you want a parasol with that drink?" And you've
Right,
razzed me over
right.
the years. So we went to a famous bar. What was it? Beverly Hills Hilton Bar.
At
I
the
think.
Hilton, yeah.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
was the name of the bar? It was famous.
I don't want to say Trader Vic's.
That's
Trader
right.
Vic's.
Yeah.
And so we have a little contest to drink Mai Tais. And of course, the first one out was Dan Ripe, remember? He was like off the
I
stool
forgot
and on
about
the
that.
floor.
Yeah, we won. That
Yeah.
was
That was really
that was
cool.
the trip. I remember
It was
that
like the
trip.
original.
But I
There's a
just
trip.
remember
I think they invented the
somebody
Mai Tai
telling
there or
me
something like
I
that.
just remember somebody telling me that you're not going to beat a Navy vet.
That's right.
And never mind. Yeah.
hard
There was
to
only
do.
one person that could drink faster than me, and it's Kevin's wife. Believe it or not.
Back in the day.
Really?
I don't think anymore.
Hey,
I'm
I just
telling you,
want to I
chicken-
just want to point out that if the graph, if the cuss graph,
Could you put that cuss
were the
graph
st-
up again?
You know, if that were the stock
Look at
market,
that.
oh my God,
We're gonna
scary.
put your picture on that, Tom, for
Wow,
helping
look
us
at
bring it.
that.
But Matt Reardon totally
So
messed
Yeah,
it up.
So
you're gonna have
impressive.
you're gonna have my picture with the coconut brown
But-
grass skirt.
Yeah, right. We're gonna put a picture of
yeah,
you there.
great.
You're holding us down.
Great,
We
yep.
appreciate it, keeping us down. A lot of people are happy when we don't cuss a lot. So I just want to say thank you very much, Tom, for being
Tom,
a
thanks
great
for
guy.
coming on.
It's great.
We got to do this
Love
again
this.
in the future, and obviously, good luck with everything, and keep up the great work with the Whiting Robertsdale Chamber of Commerce, and
And again, we'll get through what happened in Whiting, but people, look, this is a unique summer. Get out there and ride a bike and take advantage
Enjoy it
of
while
the
you still have a little
greatest
summer
trail
left.
system in the nation.
Sounds
Ride the Hammond Trail system that thanks to Mayor McDermott.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thanks
Good
for
to see you.
coming on.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a good
Left of
weekend.
center.